Talking games.
If you haven't already done so, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Thanks. What's happening, boys and girls? So today we are looking at the new Threadripper Pro lineup that AMD has dropped on the market here. I want to say that had to have been fairly recently because I've just got an email today from Newegg informing me that the chips were available, and here I am on Newegg website, and they've got the 3 different versions that you can buy individually. Initially, there were supposed to be there was some kind of a deal they had set up with Lenovo strictly to sell Threadripper Pros with pre-built Lenovo systems, but at some point it appears that changed because now you can buy actual Threadripper Pro CPUs and Threadripper Pro motherboards, and so the chipset is the WRX80, so it's not the same chipset as the previous generation. Like I've got a 3960 in my workstation here, and that uses the TRX40 chipset. The new chipset is WRX80, so they're not forward backward compatible, of course, figures. Even though the layout is the same on the motherboard, like they have been in previous generations, for whatever reason. Like I say, so like you could use the same cooler from like I could take the cooler off this. It's still the TR4 socket style. So all the mounting hardware and stuff is the same. It still uses 280 watts, so the cooling should be sufficient from one generation to the next. But you don't, you couldn't put this and put it in my existing motherboard from MSI. I have their TRX40 Creator motherboard, and that will not be compatible with these chips. But the 3 that you can buy, you've got a 16-core version with 3.9 gigahertz, which boosts up to 4.3. They said that's the 3955WX. And then you've got the 32-core version, that's the 3975WX, and then you have a 64-core version, which has only 2.7 gigahertz. So obviously, the more cores you get, the more they have to sacrifice on the clock frequency, unfortunately. And you can see the price just gets astronomically higher as you go. A little bit weird that they even made a 16-core version, and they actually even have a lowered number of cores available. So they have a pre-built Lenovo ThinkStation, because like I said, originally they were only going to be available through Lenovo, and then maybe later they were talking about making them available to consumers. But if you look at this, they actually have a 3945WX, and that has, I believe they said, only 8 cores, or no, it's 12 cores, I'm sorry. That's a 12-core model with a base clock of 4 gigahertz, so it's a little bit higher. The thing about these is that you do get 8-channel memory with them, and you also get 128 PCI Express lanes, whereas the previous generation, like what I've got once again, has 88 PCI Express lanes. Now, where you're going to use that many PCI Express lanes, I don't know. Well, I think I can tell you, maybe, let's see, it's WRX80. They have only one motherboard on here currently that I saw, and that's the Asus Pro WRX80E Sage board. And as you can see, these have an asinine number of PCI Express slots. And I looked at, there's a different one from Gigabyte on their website, but this is the one that if I was going to get one right now, this would be the one I'd go with because I just think it looks nicer. It's more aesthetic. It's all black, whereas the one from Gigabyte wasn't that good looking. It's kind of neat how they've got this sideways like this, as opposed to like with mine, the socket is oriented vertically instead of sideways like this, and so the RAM is on the sides instead of the top and the bottom. So that looked kind of interesting. But otherwise, I don't see that it'd be any different. But you can see how many PCI Express slots you get, and so this has 7 of them. I believe the one, yeah, I think it was the same thing from the one from Gigabyte. So you can have up to 7 GPUs in there. Now, of course, most GPUs take 2 or 3 slots, so maybe you could fit 3 or 4 on it. But you could put in, a fair number of GPUs depending what you want to do. And if you had individual water blocks in each one or something, you could probably fit a good number in here. Of course, you need a ridiculous number of or amount of power for that. So that'd be something to consider. But it comes with an M.2 expander, kind of like mine does. So you can probably do 4-way RAID in one of these slots. just like I can with my current board. And you get some other, just the usual kind of stuff. SATA stuff comes with it. I'm trying to figure out, not that it really matters to like the CPU itself or like the topic of the video, but I just happened to notice this on here. I can't zoom in on. Oh, there it goes. Why this has a VGA cable and what that would connect to? Like where on the motherboard does that hook up, and why? Because the Threadripper isn't going to have a built-in video card. There's no integrated GPU on that processor, so I'm a little bit confused. Just like advertising it with NVIDIA SLI as if someone's going to use this for a gaming rig, as if SLI is even usable for gaming anymore, really. I think that's funny. But, yeah, like I say, I don't really understand why they're including that. They've got, like, low profile. Like, how would you put this in a low profile case? Any cooler that goes on the Threadripper CPU is got to be massive. All the air coolers are huge, and even the freaking AIOs and stuff. So I don't really know what thought process went into including this, or where it's used on the board. I'd have to read the. I guess I'd have to find the, get a manual off their site and see if it indicates what this is for. That's not really relevant to the video that much. It's just something weird I noticed. I'm trying to figure out why they include that, but I'm real tempted to screw around with it because the 8-channel memory is kind of interesting, and I thought it'd be kind of funny because you could throw just some disparate GPUs in here. They don't even have to match theoretically, and try using like multi-GPU in the games that support it. Like, I did that Red Dead Redemption 2 video with SLI, but that's really because it supports explicit multi-GPU, I think, and so does Deus Ex. So, I mean, it's literally like 2 games you could play with where you could even try something stupid like this, but it would be funny to throw in, like I've got the two 3090s, although if you guys have been watching my channel, you know that I've had problems with the pump on the one of them, and we're still trying to get a good one from EVGA. But let's just say that you had two good 3090s, and then you had, like, if you got some like a 3070 or something, and threw it all together and just see if they could all work to run a game with multi GPU support. But that would just be for giggles more than anything else. But I thought about building a second workstation and putting one of each of my 3090s in each one. And then I could work deepfakes on each, be processing 2 of them at one time. That's a lot of money to spend for a hobby that most people aren't watching my channel for the deepfakes, unfortunately. I had kind of hoped that they would take off, and I don't really fully understand why they haven't, because I feel like I'm producing reasonably good quality deepfakes like some of the other channels I've seen who gets way more views, but whatever, that's not really relevant. Anyways, the IPC on the processor is ostensibly the same as the current generation one. So I think, like here's the 3960X single thread rating versus the 3955WX, Threadripper Pro, and according to this, they're basically identical performance. I mean, the Threadripper Pro is just slightly faster, but it's basically the same, thread performance. So it's not going to be any faster. The one I've got, and for multiple multi-core applications, I've got more cores with my 3960X. You can see anything that uses the extra cores, I'm already doing better with what I've got. So the only benefits, again, over the non-pro version, from what I can tell, is the higher amount of memory bandwidth. So I don't know what applications would really be able to utilize 8-core, octo-channel memory versus, and I've already got quad-channel memory with my current Threadripper. So, I don't know how much more benefit you really get from that. I'm sure there are applications out there that like that kind of memory that I don't use that would benefit from it, but that would be the only thing really I could think of. So, unless you need like a super amount of memory bandwidth and you want to be able to use a boatload of GPUs or other expansion cards, which that board offers support for, as we saw, that huge number of PCI Express slots. Those are the main advantages I'm seeing initially over the non-pro series. Other than that, I don't think that there's a huge reason. And then, like I say, for some reason they decided that this should be only 16 cores. So basically, what was it? The 3955WX has 16 cores for like $1,150. My 3950 or 3960X was 24 cores, and it's like $100 more. It's like $1,200 or $1,250. So Again, unless you really need that extra memory bandwidth, unless you really want this huge number of PCI Express slots, you know, maybe I'm missing something, but I would say that unless those are super big needs for you, the non-pro version is probably fine. And the boards are a little bit less expensive too, because this is $1,000 for this board, and I thought I paid a lot for my TRX 40, which was like $750, which is a lot for a motherboard. But and there are actually fairly reasonably priced TRX 40 boards that are down in the $450 range to $500 range, which is still a lot for a motherboard, but compared to these, it's significantly less. So if you wanted to go into a Threadripper workstation, unless you need the 8-channel memory, which again I'd like to play with it and see how much of a benefit it has in certain applications, but unless you really need that 8-channel memory or need an asinine sum of PCI Express slots, you'd probably be better off getting a lower to moderately expensive TRX 40 chipset with a 3960X or a 3970X. Really, you could get a 3970X and still, you know, not spend that much more than this, get way more cores, etc. Better, you know, about the same core performance, all that stuff. So that said, I thought you guys would find this interesting. I hope you did. If you do, give the video a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section below, and any questions you might have. And we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Thanks. See you later.